Hello, this is Golf with the Gary, and today we're going to be talking about how to make some money selling golf clubs on Facebook Marketplace. Glad you're here, and let's get to the video. Hello, welcome. If this is your first time here, you might be wondering why I'm in a hot tub. Well, that's kind of my shtick. It's a fun thing that I get to do, so check out some of my other videos. I like to laugh and have a good time, but today we are talking about how to make some money on Facebook Marketplace selling golf clubs. So let me turn off the bubbles and let's get serious. All right, so why am I able to speak on selling golf clubs and Facebook Marketplace? Why is this intrinsically valuable to you who are trying to do the same? Well, some of my accomplishments include I was able to make enough money selling golf clubs that I was able to buy a truck. Now, granted, this truck was only $1,000, but hey, $1,000 of golf club sales, that was actually very impressive, okay? I also was able to take some of that money once I sold that truck. I was able to put a sizable down payment on our hot tub. So it really is kind of full circle. But I want to share with you some tips and advice, things that I have found along, I don't know, I've probably been doing it for probably about like 2 to 3 to 4 years now. Pretty long time. And so I wanted to share with you some of the main tips that I've been able to pick up and things that have been really helpful for making money. Because it's one thing to play golf, it's one thing to, enjoy different aspects of the game, but I found that this is a way that, without a whole lot of effort, that I can actually make some pretty good money on the side. So it's a fun little way to get to meet a lot of different people, but it's also kind of fun. It's like every time you see golf clubs, your brain's always going, how can I make this valuable to someone else? So the first tip that I would give you is do your research, okay? Depending on where you are, and I'm here in the United States, I'm from Arkansas, and so woo pig. But beyond that, you have to know what area you're trying to market golf clubs to, okay? So, for example, I live in a college town, and so there's a lot of college-age students who, for whatever reason, are trying to get into the game of golf. Okay, maybe their buddies are going on spring break and they're like, hey, you should play golf. I know there was a big uptake in the last few years because of Good, Bob Does Sports, Grant Horvath. There was just a whole lot of YouTube golf, and so people were getting into it. But the thing you have to realize is that sometimes buying a complete set of just being able to go out and play, sometimes I don't know, some of the sets, you either get the $400 ones off of Amazon, which might last you a season or two. Who knows? Not necessarily known for the best quality. Or you have to spend upwards of $1,500 to get a really good playable set. And I don't know what your situation is, but to a lot of people who aren't working, don't have full-time jobs, or maybe they are just starting out their careers, there's not a whole lot of money to be spent on golf. Just to even see if you like it. Like sometimes you can share clubs and that's fine, but for you to really, I think, invest and enjoy the game of golf, you're going to want your own set. And so something you have to realize is, well, okay, if there's a large population of people who are wanting golf clubs, and they want them relatively cheap, what's the most amount of money that I can sell for that still makes my product or my golf club sets more valuable than those $1,500 sets? Well, the reality is it's supply and demand, okay? You need to get on Facebook Marketplace and just see locally who is selling golf clubs, what they are selling them for, what the going market rate is. We'll use that term, market rate, because you're going to quickly find out if you try to overcharge your golf club sets, it's not going to work. People are going to see right through that, and they're going to be like, why in the world would I spend $400 here when I can just get some new ones off of Amazon and then sell them later? What you, as the seller, have to do is know what you want to sell it for. Know what that market rate is, because we're about to get into it, but we're going to talk about how to build your supply. And part of that is what generates some good revenue for you. Okay, so the whole principle is you want to buy low and sell high. You can only do that if you know the market value of what you have in your hands. Okay, so if you get a set from Facebook Marketplace, let's say this scenario happens pretty often. Somebody will say, hey, complete golf set clubs or golf club set for $200. Okay, that's a pretty normal. Now, granted, at $200, they're probably not going to be Titleist or Pings, or they might be from the 90s. But relatively, some people have sets that they've put together themselves, or maybe they obtained from friends, family, garage sales. And the reality is they don't know the value of what they have. Just the other day, I had someone who said they received a complete golf set, really nice. I think retailing, it was going for around like $400 on some used golf stores online. And they were telling me, yeah, my mother-in-law got this for me, and I took it to the range once and haven't touched it since. So that is basically a brand new set of clubs that they, for all intents and purposes, just wanted to get rid of. They didn't care about golf, and that's okay. That's how you capitalize. You understand, okay, I'm going to make a lower offer, because you kind of have to gauge where the seller is at. If they are just ready to get rid of them, sometimes you run into that. Sometimes I've seen people where they're like, hey, I actually have a free set of golf clubs in my garage. Just come pick them up. I don't want them. And for me, that cues in, okay, one, they don't know the value. If they were to, I don't know, do a little more effort, research, which they don't have to because they're trying to get rid of it. But for us who are trying to sell golf clubs, it's a great way to pick up those lower costing goods, and then clean them, store them, and then market them to the population of people you're trying to sell. Okay, so when it comes to building supply, let's go ahead and jump into that. A little bit more what we've already been talking about, but essentially you want to offer low to sell high. Something that's been really beneficial for me is anytime I see a golf club set out there that is priced kind of around market value, I will just shoot my shot and say, hey, would you take, and then I decrease it by a third, or maybe half, or maybe only 10%, 15%. Something to where at the end of the day, you can say, hey, I have cash in hand. This is exactly what I say. Would you take $20 cash? Let's say they're offering it for $30. And I'm like, hey, would you take 20 cash today? Now, when you offer that, you have to be able to pick it up today. That is honestly one of the biggest things that is helpful towards selling golf clubs, is the ability for you to be the first person to jump on that deal, offer cash in hand, because most of the time people are just willing to get rid of them unless you're going through another golf seller and then they know what they have and they're like, hey, no thank you, I'm going to try and sell this to someone else. And so the reality is you have to figure out how to obtain a supply. And usually the way I go about it is I think about it in seasons. Okay, for a large part of the United States, winter's a huge deal, and winter is a lot of time where people are like, okay, hey, I had fun time with this set. Let me get with Christmas, Black Friday, all these different things. Let me get a different set. And so now they're sitting on a set that they either don't want or they're willing to get rid of. And so it's a really good opportunity to try and build your supply all the way throughout winter. And then springtime, right around now, people come out of the woodworks and they're like, hey, I am ready to get into golf. And that's what you capitalize in. And I don't want you to feel bad about doing that, because that's part of what I was thinking is like, man, am I just like ripping people off here? Well, the value is you're not. And the idea is that you're not ripping people off because you have a value and you've researched the market value to know what other people would be willing to pay for this club or these clubs. And the reality is that you are capitalizing on that knowledge. Now, one thing I'm going to talk about too is don't be greedy, okay? If you are sitting there and you're like, man, I want to make $150 off of this, like $150 profit, then and someone offers you only to 100, the way you make it in this game is by not being greedy. Okay? Sometimes you're going to have to say a little bit lower so that you sell them. That's the other kind of, it's like a two-edged sword. You have to be able to market it, make it sound like a reasonable value, because it is. Don't try to lowball people intentionally so that you can juice every penny out of them. What you're trying to do is be genuine. I think that's a huge part of it. And make the money that you know you can make, but also realize that if someone, like, sometimes you get to a Facebook Marketplace meetup and you see who it is and you're like, hey, okay, it's obvious you want to just get into the game. You see how excited they are, and maybe they're like, man, I've been searching so long for golf clubs and yours is the best deal. It's like, that alone is really beneficial, because it's like, okay, hey, I actually solved the problem that you had and I get paid for it. So I want you to think more of it like that, of like you are sourcing needs at the market value rather than, trying to juice people for all the money they possibly could. Because you got to remember too, think back when you were first starting the game. It wasn't enough just to share somebody's clubs. Like, you had to buy balls, you had to buy tees, you had to do all these other things, a glove, maybe shoes, the greens fees. Like, there are a lot of, I guess, hidden costs with the game of golf, that sometimes it's better to see them on the course with clubs than it is for you to make 10% more. Okay, so something like that, it's worth looking into. I think being genuine is a really good thing. All right, I am now going to talk to you about how to actually market these clubs on Facebook Marketplace. I see so many people who are trying to sell golf clubs, but they are not very good at marketing what they have. The difference between making $100 and making 25 is how you market it. Okay, so for example, you have a clean set of golf clubs. Maybe they're not clean. Maybe you need to clean them up. Clean them up and then take photos of them in a very specific way. Okay, if you have a golf club set, you are going to want to try and leverage everything about that set being a good, effective, cost reasonable option. Okay, and the way you do that is by showcasing how good a shape they're in. You take photos of all of them together, laid out in a neat way, something in the brain of a buyer. They see all these good deals. Okay, as a seller, you've taken the time and effort to lay them out in a visually appealing way. You show them the value of the bag, the golf clubs, the woods, everything else together, and you make the buyer feel like they're getting a really good deal. Okay, so many people take photos of just the bag and that's it. It's like, oh, I don't know anything about the grips. I don't know anything about the shafts. Like, you leave that up to the imagination. If you just take really good photos, and I'll put some probably right about here of what actual photos I use and why that's important on how to actually make it valuable for the people buying it. Okay, so part of being good at selling golf clubs is marketing your product. Okay, because let's just be honest, it's not like you're building clubs out here. It's not like you are doing the research and design on these clubs. Essentially what you're doing is you are storing them, you're cleaning them up, and you're taking photos of them, and you're delivering the clubs. And sometimes if you want people to come to your house, they can meet you and pay you money. And so it's just kind of one of those things where the few things that you really have to do, you've got to do them well. Okay, and you've got to make it seem marketable to whoever you're going after as your target audience. Okay, it's really not that difficult. It's just it takes a little bit more work, and that's okay. Because that little bit of work that you're going to do, you're going to start seeing people click and save on your listings like nobody's business. Okay, and if not, check and see what's up. Maybe go check the market prices again. Maybe go check and see, like, is there a big enough population in your area to support golf? I would recommend, if you don't have a college town you're nearby, go find a group of people that you can sell to, even if it's not golf clubs. Like if you know there are a lot of disc golfers around, like sell some disc golf. It's just, you've got to understand the market, you've got to understand the population, your target audience, and you've got to understand where your supply and demand comes in for you to make a markup. Okay, and once again, I'm going to reiterate this. Don't be greedy. Okay, these are used clubs. Unless you have found a dealer or maybe a supplier who is just able to hand you new clubs right off the line, you get them at cost and you can raise it, great, that's for you. But most of the time, we are looking for clubs that have been pre-used, okay? They've been used by people, they've been banged up maybe a little bit. You have to try and capture every single value out of that club set for that other person. Basically what selling is you are capturing the value and the vision of what you see, and you are casting that or selling that to other people. Okay? And other people who are wanting that product. So it's really not a difficult process. If you guys are interested, if you have any other questions too, maybe I'll make a follow-up video and kind of show you and walk you through on Facebook Marketplace the things that I type in, but only if you guys are interested. I really made this video just for you all to maybe step into something you haven't really done, or maybe you've tried to and it hasn't really worked out well. I think that I've culminated quite a few things that have worked for me, but feel free to localize it too. Not everything's going to be exactly the same, but the main things is you have got to figure out a way to obtain these at a low cost, but then also sell them at the market value that you know people are willing to pay for them. Okay? It's a very, very big deal to remember that, and I think it's going to help you make more sales. Okay, because it's kind of like that age-old question, would you rather sell one $1,000 car or $1,001 cars? Okay, if you can keep selling, if you have a lot of supply, you can keep selling things for a low dollar, eventually that's going to build. Okay, but if maybe you only have money for one club set, maybe you really hunker down and try to get a good price on that, and then you sell at the market value. Okay, and then what you take home is this. It's you kind of have multiple ways that you can go about doing it, but I want you to realize that it's not extremely difficult. You just have to put in the work where other people aren't willing to. Do some research. You got this. All right. Well, thanks for being here. Like I said, once again, if you want other videos or tips on how to sell on Facebook Marketplace, reach out to me, leave a comment, like, subscribe. I'm happy to help in any way I possibly can. All right. Thanks, guys. Bye.